What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate podcast. Boy, oh boy, do we have a great episode for you. And I'm very, very excited to get into this first topic, and you'll see why in a minute. But first, I want you guys to go over to our TikTok and go over to our Instagram and hit that follow button. It's at Dorm Debate Podcast. If you don't already know, we post a lot of fantasy football content on there, so keep a lookout for those. But without further ado, let's hop right into this first topic. And it's the Arizona Cardinals versus the Seattle Seahawks, the primetime game on Sunday. Oh my God. I mean, I was so invested in this game because if you've watched for a long time on Dorm Debate, I've been all in on the Cardinals since day one, since the first time they drafted Isaiah Simmons. Just absolutely loved what they were building in Arizona. And I love Kyler Murray. 4 total touchdowns, 360 yards passing. Outplayed Russell Wilson, I would say personally, because Russell Wilson threw 3 interceptions, one including the one that basically gave the Cardinals the game in overtime to Isaiah Simmons. Now let's take a look at the NFC West after the Cardinals beat the Seahawks 37-34 in overtime. Seahawks are 5-1, Cardinals are 5-2, Rams are 5-2, and 49ers just 4-3. Now everybody is within 2 games. It's a toss-up right now. The Seahawks have a terrible defense. Cardinals have a great offense, still not a great defense. And then the Rams and 49ers have great defenses. It's like a total opposite. I guess I'll start this one off because everyone knows that I like the Cardinals. It's not a secret. I do like them to win the division this year, but I must say a big surprise for me were the Rams. The Rams won yesterday for us on Monday against the Bears, and they have a really good balanced offense, really good balanced defense. We all know that the Rams are top 5 defense, but they actually have a really good rushing offense, surprisingly. They got a great line. So they were definitely the surprise for me. But going forward, how I see this going at the end of the season, I see the Cardinals, man. I don't see how they lose. Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins. You got the defense who's starting to gain some traction this year and actually play how they should be. I mean, I don't know, man. I saw a team that didn't quit the whole game and fought to the very, very end, even when their kicker misses a 40-something yarder and everyone thought it was over and Wilson was going to go down. They didn't give up and they come back and win. Like that is a playoff team. That's a team that'll win the division. They do not miss a step. Somebody else help me out here, John, because I'm all high on freaking Cardinals, Kyler Murray mania.
Yeah, I'm not going to help you out here. I'm actually going to stop your talk right there because that's not right. The Cardinals are not going to win this division. And a few reasons for this. First of all, Isaiah Simmons, who had the interception in overtime, that was one of his only snaps of the game. I don't know if anybody caught that.
They're still trying to implement him into
the defense. He hasn't been playing. He's your number 1 pick. He was like the 7th overall pick in the draft. You should be starting him every play. He should be running around the field like crazy.
I mean, they don't know what to do with him. And I mean, I guess that's one thing that I disagree with is just throw him in and have him make plays. He's literally a playmaker at any position. And to pair him up with Baker, who is playing his absolute best by far this year. I mean, he plays like freaking Jamal Adams. He's crazy good. Why not just throw Simmons in? Simmons is a straight up athlete. So I do agree with you on that they need to start putting him in more.
Yeah, they haven't put him in. But another reason is, I know I keep saying this, but like the defenses that some of these teams are playing are like so bad. I don't know. The Seahawks defense is embarrassingly bad, like almost as bad as Dallas. And Dallas is the worst defense we've ever seen ever in NFL history. And the Seahawks are close to that. Did you see them? Like, okay, on the last drive where they kicked the overtime winner, they let a first play, Hopkins gets 10 yards in 5 seconds. Now they only need another 10 yards. It's like nobody's playing press. Nobody's trying. I know Jamal Adams isn't there, but they lost Clowney. They lost Adams, and they are so bad. They let Cam Newton get 30 points, and you saw what Cam Newton did to the 49ers. He threw 3 interceptions instead of 3 touchdowns. So the Cardinals, I want to see them play the Rams. I want to see Ramsey on Hopkins. I want to see Donald on Murray. And I don't think the Cardinals are going to beat the Rams this year. I think the Rams go 2-0 against the Cardinals. And I think that this is the Seahawks division because I think Jamal Adams comes back and I think their division or their defense gets a little bit better. So I think this is still the Seahawks division. And I think the Rams actually come in second in this division because what's amazing is that they all play the Eagles and they all play each other. So it's going to be a lot of similar games, similar opponents. And whoever wins this division deserves to win the division because they're all playing the same team. So I think it's going to be Seattle, then the Rams, and then 49ers and Cardinals will be the last 2. Yeah, no. I'm sorry. The Cardinals lost to the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions who got lucky against the Falcons. Yeah, well, you can't afford that in this division. This is the best division in football.
You got to help me out here. You love Kyler. Please back me up on this.
Yeah, sure. I think this division will come down to the Seahawks and the Cardinals.
Thank you.
So I disagree with John. Look, in this game, Kyler Murray and Cardinals made a statement. Russell Wilson sort of faced his supervillain rival, like, the Flash versus the Reverse Flash, if you're familiar with superheroes. Look, Kyler Murray does things a little bit better than Russell Wilson. He's faster than him. I think Russell Wilson's 40 is like 4.5. Kyler's like 4.31 or something. So he's quicker than him. He's more elusive. Plus, he can throw the ball really well. So it's like a combination of Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen in one. I think Kyler is a unique athlete that we haven't seen before, that can do many different things. He's the full package. And to be honest, in a few years, I think he's going to get a super max contract such as the one that Patrick Mahomes got. So Kyler's a great athlete, and I think, John, you underestimate him. The Cardinals are definitely in it to win the division for the rest of the season. I think that, look, the Rams are a pretty solid team, but their offense, is not consistent. They have to, that's why they have to switch running backs every few plays because they don't really have a consistent back that can produce. You know what I mean? And Jared Goff, he gets most of his passes through, play action. He's not that great quarterback that can kind of lead you to victory.
Because that's the system. That's the system they're in. They put up 24 points on the Bears. The Bears only give up 18 points per game. They're top 5 defense.
Yeah, the Bears struggled. The Bears struggled against the Rams. I think.
I know. I told you guys the Bears are the imposter.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
One game.
So look, I think it's going to come down to the Seahawks and the Cardinals. So I don't know which one of those. I like to see the Cardinals play a few more games to see if it was sort of a fake win. I mean, we can see, we saw what they can do, but I don't know if they can keep it up like this great offense that they've been producing against weak defenses in the Cowboys and the Seahawks. I think Kyler Murray is great, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. But it's definitely going to come down to the Seahawks and Cardinals. I don't think the Rams or the 49ers will stand a chance against those teams. That's my opinion.
Caleb?
I think with me, there's kind of 2 angles I'm looking at right now with the NFC West, that's division, right? One thing that we were talking about before we started recording is the very real possibility, I just looked it up, that every team from this division could be in the playoffs with the wild card spots. It is possible, yeah. Now, there was an article saying that could this be the, making NFL history for a whole division to make the playoffs and then see each other again? Who knows? Because it's halfway, a lot of things can change. But all those teams have playoff caliber. This leads me to the second angle that I'm looking at. Well, the first being that I think this division could be the first to do it. It's the first year it's possible, but maybe. The second thing is I feel like there's 2 categories in this division. One is you got to prove everyone right, and the other one's prove everyone wrong. And what I mean by that is I think everyone expects Seattle to do well. So they're pretty much the big contenders, I think, because they have Russell Wilson who's proved it, won the Super Bowl, made it back again. Everyone knows how good he is, and he was on the MVP track. I'd say still, but he did it. There were a couple of interceptions. But then the other teams, I think, are still proving other people wrong in the sense that not many people talk about the Cardinals yet. I think they do need to get more respect, and they're proving it every week, clearly. Same with the Rams. I kept undervaluing the Rams, but they keep coming back. I think we got to give credit to Sean McVay and the coaching that he has over there, as well as that defensive line. I mean, that scary man, that D lineman, we all know who we're talking about. He's a threat to every quarterback he's faced, and you saw the pressure that he brought on Foles. Now, the Bears being the imposter, fair point. But I watched that game, and it was that O line that you can't do anything behind that offensive line. I don't know what quarter. Besides the point, same with the 49ers, that they have to prove people wrong at this point, is because I think they've had a number of injuries that have hurt them, but they're starting to bounce back. So I think every team in that division could end up making the playoffs, but they all come from different angles. I think it's harder when you're defending from the top, being Seattle, when you were 5-0, going up against a young quarterback that was like your star quarterback in Russell Wilson versus Kyler. I think Kyler could be that. Now, will they wear him down the line with injuries and other things? And it's a weird season, but I still believe that defense is going to win it all at the end in some manner or fashion. Defense still wins championships. So if these teams can't patch their holes and not fix these problems, then they might make the playoffs. But who knows if they're going to be a Super Bowl winner? So it still stands to be seen. But man, if I had to say right now, I mean, after that game, it could have gone either way. That was probably my favorite game of the season so far, honestly.
I agree.
I mean, the most entertaining overtime kick. Yeah, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm saying, and also one thing, yes, the defenses aren't the greatest, but you have to remember, Cardinals had Kyler Murray, obviously, right? But they also have Christian Kirk, who's a pretty decent receiver, Larry Fitzgerald, and then DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
John, you mentioned that they got like an easy 10 yards or something. I mean, it's tough, right? DeAndre Hopkins is probably one of the greatest receivers in the league. So they're not playing against teams that aren't great. These defenses have a tall task. And so I think it's more credit to the offense, rather than saying the defense isn't that great, in my opinion.
I mean, with that trade, I think the Cardinals won that trade with the Texans. I mean, getting DeAndre Hopkins for what they did. I mean, I think it's clear. It's definitely still tough. I don't know who to go with. I like Russell Wilson too much to bet against him, even though they lost it in overtime. I'm sorry, Jared. I still got to go with the Seahawks for winning the division.
Okay.
You believe in them since the beginning, so you will reap the rewards if you're standing in the end.
Yeah, I like what I've been seeing so far, and I won't say I'm surprised that they beat the Seahawks, but they definitely impressed me with the resilience in overtime. It was very easy for them to give up, and they never did. Specifically, that defense, and the defense is on the rise. They're top 10 in points let up per game. They only let up 20 points per game, and the number one, they only give up 17, like 0.5. So they're still improving. And with the Seahawks, they're actually going down. Like, their defense is getting worse every week, and I'm not sure when Jamal Adams is going to come back. That remains to be seen. When he comes back, are they going to click after weeks of him being gone? Who knows? But when it comes to looking at playoffs and things like that, Jamal Adams is an X factor. He's a deal breaker. If he comes back this season and he's his 100% self, that will help the defense a lot. And then when, the Cardinals play him, I think they play him in 3 weeks. If Jamal Adams is playing and they beat him then, now they're making another statement that the Seahawks defense it doesn't have the personnel to do it. Doesn't have the personnel to win.
Yeah.
Are we going to mention DK Metcalf and his amazing rundown that he had? I mean, that guy's a beast. I don't know why Seattle doesn't target him more. Like, why don't you just send him down the field? I know they do take some deep shots, but last game he had 2 catches, and the one that he had in overtime that went for a touchdown, like, was a screen pass. Why don't you send this guy deep?
I don't.
That's
get
why
it,
he had.
man.
That's why he had so much energy to chase that guy down. They weren't using him, so he had so much energy.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's true. I don't know what was more impressive, his rundown or Lockett having 15 catches, 200 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Don't even bring
That
it
was
up,
crazy.
dude. I had him on my bench, and he has the best
Would you
game
have?
of his. No,
You would have won, right? If you had
I
him in.
would have. Yeah, I would have won.
But how are you supposed to know that he was going to have the best game of his career?
Fantasy.
That sucks, dude.
Yeah, it's like fantasy just adds so much stress, dude.
Ugh.
53, man. Oh my
I'm
gosh,
so
I'm
sorry.
gonna start him every game of the rest of the season. I think he's gonna be in there. I can't have this happen again.
All right, well, let's move from the best division in the NFL to the worst division in the NFL, the NFC East. The Cowboys are the main talk of the town right now. They lost 25-3 to the Washington football team. Their worst start of the season since 2015. And for reference, Dak was drafted in 2016. So I don't know what to say about that.
Not even Romo.
Jonathan, I'll start off with you. You are a Cowboys fan. Where does the blame lie here with the Cowboys? Is it the players? Is it the coaching? Is it just Dak being injured? There's nothing you can do. Where do you see the blame lying?
It's pretty much everybody in the organization, to be honest with you. Our defense sucks. The coaches suck. Mike McCarthy should be out, honestly. Jason Garrett, at least he made us average every year, okay? But now we have nothing to hope for. There's a reason why Aaron Rodgers wanted him out of town, and now we're stuck with him. Mike McCarthy sucks. Defense sucks. Zeke, I'm really disappointed in him. How many times do you have to fumble? Why don't the coaches chew him out? I was scared to fumble as a running back after what my coach always used to say. Remember I told you guys?
Yeah.
It would be better for you to die as a small child than you to fumble the football. So I was always scared to fumble. This guy just fumbles carelessly. What's the matter with you, Zeke? I thought you were our best player. It's really sad. It's really sad. So, look, I'm a Cowboys fan, but let me just go ahead and say this. I'm throwing in the towel. I'm not expecting anything great for the rest of the season. What the smartest thing we should do right now, knowing that Eagles or somebody else is probably going to win the division, the smartest thing to do for us is for us to tank. We should tank and try to get a good defensive prospect in 2021. I think right now the top defensive prospect is Micah Parsons, a linebacker from Penn State. We need more linebackers because right now we can't really depend on Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith. They're obviously not playing well. We need them to be in more competition. That way they know that their spots could be taken soon or something. I don't know. I think Micah Parsons can help our defense from a linebacker perspective because the linebackers are really the captain of the defense and they're not playing well, to be honest with you guys. So the blame goes on every single person in the organization, from the defense to the coaches to Zeke to just anybody you can think of. The blame goes on them. And I don't know who the player was that hit Andy Dalton, but he should be suspended for like 5 games because that was uncalled for. How could you do that?
Yeah.
How could you do that to a player? He should be suspended for 5 games.
Helmet to helmet. Yeah, it's going down.
Yeah,
that was very dirty.
Yeah, and I think a coach said that, they're surprised that the players didn't stick up for him. And I agree. I'm surprised there wasn't like a huge fight that broke out. The offensive lineman should defend the quarterback. They just, looked at him when he got hurt. The guy wasn't moving. They just looked at him. They should have started a fight.
Yeah.
Once he got hurt, I
Yeah,
knew was done.
Yeah, there's no fight. Nobody cares. Like nobody cares about winning. Nobody cares about each other. Okay,
Yeah.
A guy gets his head almost taken off, and
Everybody
he's
just looks at him.
concussed, and everybody's like, "Oh, okay, well." And nobody says anything. Nobody cares. They're like, "Oh, my teammate just got hurt. I guess. Well, we're gonna lose anyway." Like nobody has any drive. Nobody's motivated, and I know I agree with you that the blame lies on everyone. Nobody's doing literally not one person in that organization is doing something right now. But exactly. I think most of the blame falls on McCarthy. He did get unlucky with Dak getting lost for the season. But even before that, the defense was horrible, and they weren't coming out to play the first half of every game. They were always playing catch up. And McCarthy, for being out for a year out of coaching and saying, I'm studying everybody's offenses. Now I know how to attack the league and everything, which the offense was good, but you can't just come out here and put up this crap. I mean, you literally have one of the best teams, and you don't know how to motivate anybody and make anybody play well. And you have a defensive coordinator that came from the Cardinals, I think. He also took a year off. And when he was on the Cardinals, this guy, Mike Nolan, he had the top 5 worst defense in the league for 3 years as a defensive coordinator in Arizona. Why are you bringing in a guy that's already one of the worst? Okay, you guys studied over the offseason, and all of a sudden you're going to be top 10 in the league. That's just not how it works. When people are already bad at things, it's very hard to, change that. And this defensive coordinator needs to be fired. He's the second biggest to blame, but McCarthy's to blame because he doesn't know how to fix it. So this team has a lot of problems, and I can officially say that the division is between the Eagles and the Giants. But after what happened on Thursday, I don't even know what to say anymore, but it's the Eagles division, and it's not even close.
All right. Eagles fan Caleb, chime in here.
It's like I can't punch down at the Cowboys because we don't have that much of a better record either. I will say, in terms of a football analyst, right, putting the Eagles, any pleasure that I do or don't have about the Cowboys doing bad, as an Eagles fan, I'm putting that aside, and as thinking about the game of football and what's going on with the Cowboys is crazy because they were favored to win the division. As an Eagles fan, that was very discouraging. I mean, they loaded up with all these weapons, and they weren't. They were expected to go off, And I think a lot of it started to tear at the edges when they lost Dak. I saw a lot of pundits talk about how when you have a certain kind of quarterback, it erases over a bunch of other mistakes as long as you're competitive. And, the Cowboys were losing games, and we talked about how minus the Atlanta game, they should have, been winless. But even then, they were putting up some monster offensive points. So I think, John, like you said, and Jonathan, there's no one without blame in the division, in the organization. And ultimately, Mike McCarthy's the boss, so it is part of it. But people were talking about, is it time to fire him? I don't think so. I think more it's just the defense is the crux of that team. I think when they had Dak, they were able to stay competitive and be in it longer, and it covered up some of those issues. But if anything, Dak getting injured and the Cowboys struggling this much worse shows his value. I think that money that they could have paid him before, maybe that could have changed things. Who knows, the butterfly effect or whatever. But I think it's showing that I've always said that he's not the best quarterback pure, but he has this intangible ability to lead the team. As I've always said, and losing him hurt the team a lot. I've seen Andy Dalton. I don't know if there's a reason he's the backup, but that said, he's playing his best. I see him hustling, trying to will the team to do better than they are. But what is it? Seeing him get hit and then no one come help him shows the defeatist attitude this team has. And that's so much harder to shake because I've played football. Like when you're losing by a lot and someone puts up another score on you, if you really care, you don't give up. You actually get angrier. You'll do stupid things to not that I've ever done, but for real, when you care about the game that you're playing and you're losing that much, you don't just give up. You more just get really irritable. But for them to just throw their hands up, that's to get to that point, it's crazy. I think there's a lot of drama going on with that team, and it's sad to see if it's any penny because these are people working their job, doing their best. I don't think Mike McCarthy's the whether it's rude or not, I'm not sure, but I think it's just more this defense, these defensive injuries, as well as defensive play calling. John, you brought up great points that, I've also heard that the defensive coordinator had a relationship with McCarthy in some capacity that brought him on as a friend, hey, his job basically. And I'm if that's the case, then Jerry Jones would say, hey, you're not going to, McCarthy, you're not calling the defense. You were doing okay with the offense. Even though they were putting up 30, 40 points. But say hey, we need someone else to lead the defense on this team, and you're just not seeing that. So if I had any specific point of to improve, I think it's got to start with the defense, because you don't stand a chance without that. And I think they were already barely making it with Dak, and losing Dak, it just hurt them even more. So, you hate to see football being played that bad. You really do.
Yeah, I want to start off with their draft pick, CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee is arguably one of the best wide receivers to come out of that draft. But did you need him? That's the main question. Did you need him? Now, going into this season, in 2019, the Cowboys had the best offense. They had the most yards per game. Why, with your first pick, do you get CeeDee Lamb to basically overkill that offense? And we've seen other wide receivers step up, like Cedric Wilson, Noah Brown. They have a plethora of receivers. I think they wasted that pick. I think they wasted that pick on CeeDee Lamb. Not that he's going to be a great player. He's not going to be a great player. He's obviously one of the best. But if you look at their record at the point where Dak got injured, they were in a battle with the Giants, who were in last place, and they had one win. So even with Dak, this team is not good. And even with Andy Dalton, this team is not good. And it's not the offense's fault. It is all on the defense. And it's Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, if he had any say in it, whoever picked, the draft picks, because they had Damon Arnett, a cornerback. They had Kenneth Murray, who went to the Chargers, who's a linebacker. They had these defensive players, and they just went with, CeeDee Lamb was going to be, the ticket seller, the most popular, flashy guy. I think that set him back this year, and it's starting to show how bad that defense really is. So I think the blame goes on Jerry Jones. We saw him at the draft in that like spaceship room, not freaking isolating himself from everybody. And then he picks CeeDee Lamb. Well, wait a minute. You got Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson starting to come off, Noah Brown. That makes no sense. You had the best offense last year. What are you trying to like improve here? So Jerry Jones needs to figure out what he wants to do. Does he want to sell tickets, or does he want to win football games? Does he want to win Super Bowls? That's the question that the Cowboys need to answer right now. Mike McCarthy's just in a tough spot. It's his first season, so you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he's already losing people. He's already losing players in the locker room. So people are speaking up about him, and it's not good. If you try to look at this from all angles, it's bad. It's really bad. And it sucks because, it's good for Dak. It's probably the only thing good for is for Dak, because he's sitting back saying, look, you guys are a mess. Like,
look at how much I carried this team before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with Jerry Jones, you sign Andy Dalton to a big deal, and he's trash. He's not doing well. I mean, even before he got the concussion, they're losing. They're losing by a crap ton. Like, I don't know. Whoever's evaluating talent there is just not. They're not doing it, man. They're not doing well.
I mean,
it's all Jerry Jones, and that's an interesting take, because I just want to add something quick. Is that when you look at Jerry Jones and who he drafts offense, and he trades for offense. Trading for Amari Cooper, drafting Dak, drafting Zeke, drafting Lamb, drafting Gallup, drafting these offensive linemen, and Tony Romo, DeMarco Murray, Des Bryant. And when you look at all his teams, I can't really name one great defensive player. And when you look at Mike McCarthy's teams that he's had with the Packers, there's never been any great defensive player. So I hate to say it, but it's clear that they need defense, but I don't think they're smart enough to make that change. I still think their first pick in the draft next year is going to be offense. I think it's going to be an offensive lineman, because I don't think they're smart enough or care enough about winning games. They just want the best offense. And I just think they are not smart enough to realize that, and they really don't care. Jerry Jones doesn't care about defense. It's clear. He would have addressed it already. He's not going to all of a sudden, 20 years into his career of owning the Cowboys, be like, oh, you know what? Actually, I'm just going to draft 3 defensive players and stack. No, it's not going to happen. And this defense will always be bad. I'm sorry.
I think the Cowboys also just have a pattern, and for better or for worse, drafting for like it's a bit like a business, like more draft for big names, like draft for the brand, because people knew CeeDee Lamb's gonna be big, and I think you posed a great question in hindsight. Now, Jared was like, did they really need him though? Because I said this at the beginning of the year that people weren't talking about the Tampa Bay defense that much, but they were good, and I think that's something that a lot of big teams forget is like. Sometimes winning games, you can win with a great defense that has no superstars. Like people might not know the names, but they can see that there's something different about that defense. And I don't know. They've had Sean Lee, Evander Esch, I think recurring injuries with some of their key defensive players have hurt them. But I was thinking about this. Like, is it people? Because there was headlines like, should the Cowboys fire McCarthy? I think he's like Jared, you said, he's in a tough spot. Like, what coach would you fire if like the star quarterback that you gave him gets injured, right? It's his first year. Like, I think if I'm a Cowboys fan, you firing McCarthy right now would delay any prospect of a Super Bowl much longer already. Because then a new coach, say you have an interim coach for this season, another season to build again. So that that's one thing. Then if you then on top of that, everything with Dak, if you don't get Dak back, you're rebuilding again. If you draft a quarterback, you got to give him a year or two to get into a groove. Like I think you stick with what you got, but you're right. Like I think if he's losing the confidence of the team, I don't know if that's his personality or if it's more the fact that they're losing. Because I think players will believe anything as long as you're winning. I mean, not anything, but you know what I mean? Like it's much easier to buy into something when there's results that show it. So yeah, I think it's too early to fire him. Maybe the defense though. Maybe whoever's in charge of the defense though.
Mm-hmm. From game one, from the first game of the season, I knew this guy had a question mark behind how good he was as a coach. What he didn't raise hell on that pass interference call, I was like, oh, this guy doesn't want it. He didn't really care. So yeah, I think Mike McCarthy is a huge problem, and I don't think we can. Caleb's right. I don't think we can just let him go like that. I think we're stuck with him for a while, and it's sad. I'm just hoping that these NFL teams will spare us. If you're listening, any NFL teams, any NFL players, please don't embarrass us. Please have pity on us. We suck.
You think, dude, do you see what everybody's doing to the Giants? You think once you just start to suck, they're going to let it go? Look what we're getting done to us.
Yeah. And some news that came out, I don't know if you guys saw it. It came out like 5 hours ago. Everson Griffin got traded to the Lions.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I'm dumping everything. This season's garbage.
Yeah.
It's over.
Well, not for an Eagles fan.
Well,
but we'll
okay.
See.
So
we'll see.
One last question, and then we'll move on to something or nothing. But maybe in like a sentence, is it worth trying to make the playoffs for the Cowboys? I mean, because they're one game out. They're half a game out.
No, tank. There's a lot of teams in the race to tank for Trevor, so you got to get in that race.
Even if you do win the division, you happen to win the division, you're not going to go far in the playoffs. Are you kidding me? Tank and try to get a top draft prospect. That's my opinion.
You know what? With the one game difference, you're right. I don't mean to gloat as an Eagles fan because I know what it's like to have your team lose for a few years. Like I get it. With that, the reason I don't think they'll tank is because of McCarthy. Like you don't want to. He's not going to get in there with the team that's supposed to do that well, and just start doing it. Like I think his job is on the line if he doesn't do better than they already are. So I think they're stuck between a rock and a hard place because you're right. Like I think. I'm more confident in my Eagles, but I could see the arguments that people think that the NFC East isn't that strong to make it deep into the playoffs. So you're right. Like there's a legitimate thing, but I don't think they'll tank.
All right, I agree, tank. But hey, maybe DiNucci proves us wrong. Maybe he just does it. Maybe he pulls off a miracle.
Hey. I didn't like what I saw first.
It looked ugly.
The first few tries he had. Yeah.
He had one good throw. It was that first throw. I was like, okay. And I was just bad from there. Fumble.
This might be crazy, but I was just like thinking to myself, like, what if they, I don't even know if it's possible. What if they went for Fitzpatrick? I don't know.
Wow.
Right?
Dude, you know what?
Bring him in. Bring him in.
He's just bringing him.
That's a chemistry guy.
That's too good though. You wanna tank though.
I don't want it to
do good.
I don't want the Cowboys to do that. I'm just
I
saying.
know, but the tank, like the Cowboys, why would they do that? They want to tank. If Fitzpatrick's not good, he could maybe get you to the playoffs, but you're not going to go anywhere with Fitzpatrick in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know. Ryan Fitzpatrick's still got a little left in the tank, so I'm not going to put it past him. But let's move on.
And he would have a lot of great weapons.
He would, way more than Miami ever had.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to our first segment of the podcast. It's one we've been doing all the time. Something or nothing. It's where I pose a statement to the crew here, and they tell me if it's something or if it's nothing, and we just don't need to worry about it. The first one's big, and it came out a while ago. Antonio Brown to the Buccaneers. Now they sign a 1-year deal with the Buccaneers, and I just want to say, if Antonio Brown mentally is there, this is a great pick by the Buccaneers. Great pick, especially with Godwin coming on and off with injuries and stuff. This is a great pick. But if he's not mentally there, I'm a little weary about Antonio Brown. John, Antonio Brown signing with the Bucs. Is this something or is it nothing?
This is something. And we talked about it on TikTok. I know a lot of people commented on the video, and a lot of people were saying that Brady can't throw more than 5 yards, so why do you need Brown? Because he can't get it to him. And I think a lot of people were wrong about that, and they saw that when he hit Scotty Miller in the back of the end zone, dropped it in the basket, and after he put up 4 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown, I think everybody knows that Tom Brady's legit and that this was a good move because Evans' ankle is still hurting him. Godwin just had surgery on his finger today, so he's out next week against the Giants, but he'll be fine. Gronk, he's banged up. And then they have Fournette and Ronald Jones, but this is great for Brown. And in terms of fantasy, I'm looking for him to be around the caliber of a Robert Woods. He'll be inconsistent, maybe a 20-point game here, 10-point game here, but he'll definitely help. And I think the interesting thing here is that I think Brown and going to the Bucs, I think that's the only place he's ever going to play after this year, or maybe if he goes back next year, he's not going to go to any other team ever again because he can't be in any other locker room. The only reason that this works is because Tom Brady is there and because he was able to do it in New England. He was able to do fine other than that one incident with Robert Kraft, and Kraft had enough with him after one game. But the only player he could play with is Tom Brady because he has that respect for Brady. And the problem with Roethlisberger is that him and Brown were fighting over who gets more credit for the wins. And Brady doesn't care how they win. Brady will literally hand the ball off in 5 rushing touchdowns, and he doesn't care. He's happy. But Roethlisberger wanted credit. Brown wanted credit. Brown wanted to be the best receiver on the team, all that. We know all that. So I think that this is big because this is the only team he's ever going to play on. But I do want to bring one interesting aspect into this. I don't agree with how the deal was structured. It was a 1-year, $2.5 million deal, $1 million guaranteed, and the other $1.5 million in bonuses. And it was $750,000 for a Super Bowl win, which I don't have any problems with. Then it was 3 $250,000 bonuses, one for catches, one for yards, and one for touchdowns. Now, when you bring a guy in, and Antonio Brown, he's always when he was on the Steelers, he always wanted those catches. He always wanted to be targeted. He wanted to be the best guy on the team, best guy in the league. You bring him into Tampa Bay, that's not what you want from him. You don't want him to be wanting every ball. You want him to be a team player because they're not going to go to him every play. They're going to go to Evans. They're going to go to Godwin, Gronk, run the ball. Their defense is going to have great games where Brady's not going to have to throw it that much. So you don't want a guy that is going to complain about getting catches and stuff, yet you give him a contract that gives him more money if he gets more catches and more yards and touchdowns. So that's literally hurting the locker room, because now he's going to be like, well, I can't, I need to get the catches because I need to get my $250,000. So he's just going to complain more. If you want to do catches, yards, and touchdowns, do percentage of catches or do percentage of touchdowns or something like that. I like the deal. I like that they brought him in, but I don't like the contract and how it's structured. And I'm sure Arians is telling him that you get one chance. And if I see anything in that locker room and you're messing with our chemistry, you're out of here. And I'm sure they will do that. And I think they should do that. He should be on the strictest watch. But I think this team is headed for the NFC Championship, if not Super Bowl.
Yeah, so I think this is something, but I slightly disagree with what you just said, John. I think it was really smart how they structured his contract, because now he's going to be yearning to get open. He's going to be yearning to catch the ball. I think they purposely brought him in. That way they know for a fact this guy is always going to be open. He has great footwork. He's like 5'10", right? That's why he was one of the best receivers in the league. I think there's a reason they brought him in. The reason they brought him in, they want Tom Brady to have a go-to receiver. Like every play, they know this guy's going to be open. There's no receiver. There's hardly any receivers that for a fact, if they're even double teamed, they'll find a way to get open. Antonio Brown is one of those few players that can do that. I feel the way they structured that deal was really clever, in that every single play, Antonio Brown is gonna try to do some great things. So I think a lot of people underestimate Antonio Brown. John, you said something about Robert Woods. You're comparing him to fantasy in terms of points he's going to score. I think it's going to be way more than that. This guy on Steelers was used to getting like 20 receptions a game. But he's used to being a workhorse.
That's not the Buccaneers' plan. They're going to have games where their defense plays well and they just have to run the ball, and Brown isn't going to get more than 2-3 targets.
That was the plan coming into the season, but with this signing, I think you're seeing a shift in like strategy. Really, that's why they structured the contract that way. You're seeing a shift in strategy. They want Antonio Brown to be a workhorse. This is a 1-year contract. They want to utilize him as much as possible, and it's a win-win. You know why? Not only are the bonus incentives there if he performs well, but also this is a 1-year contract. You say he's not going to go on another team. I kind of disagree with that. If he does really well this season, a lot of teams, even more teams, are going to be yearning to get on another team.
He can't make it in the locker room of any other team. And
it's not about that.
The way you're structuring this contract, you think all of a sudden they're going to be like, okay, so our defense is really good and we run the ball a decent amount. Oh, we got Antonio Brown. We're just going to go spread offense and throw it. No, they're not going to change their offense for one guy. He's not going to be featured as much as you think he is. Trust me. He's good, but
I know he's definitely going to be featured. What are the Bucs? Like 5-2 or something? They've been playing decent, but I think they can be playing better if they sort of change that strategy. If Tom Brady has at least one receiver that is always open and you can go to him. Look, Mike Evans hasn't been 100%. Godwin hasn't been 100%. There's been a lot of injuries in the receiving core. So that's why you've been seeing the running game sometimes take over. But with Antonio Brown, I think Tom Brady's going to just keep on dumping him the ball, quick screens. The guy's fast. You can utilize him in many different ways. Trust me, there's a reason they signed him. They didn't just add say, let's sign Antonio Brown. Like, no, we need to get this guy, because if we get him, then we don't have to, depend on the run as match with Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. So we can pass more, and we can have a dependable receiver that we always know will be open. This 5'10" wideout. You don't really see much 5'10" wideouts. They're usually big and tall, right? So they purposely signed this guy. I think it's a shift in offensive strategy. You're going to see more targets to Brown. He's going to be that go-to receiver. He's going to get a lot of fantasy points. And like I said, it's going to be a win-win. Once he performs well this season, he can decide to stay on Bucs, or many teams don't care about the locker room stuff. They're going to want to sign this guy. Yeah, I think you'll see that, John.
I think there's a lot of levels to this signing, right? I think one of them is keeping Brown out of the hands of these other teams, because maybe they would be better if they had Brown. Like maybe the Chiefs when you have the speed threat of Hill. That being said, so there's a strategy of keeping him out of the opponents who might use him, who could be better. Because I don't know who the de facto best offense in the league is. I know who the couple superstar teams, with a lot of receivers. But when it comes to the signing of Brown overall, I think one question mark I have that's a big one is all the off the field troubles, and you hate to see it, but it's something that Brown is coming up on his 4th chance to play in the NFL, which is something that I saw a statistic that of all the football players in high school, like less than 1% get to even play in the NFL. And so for Brown, Brown's good enough to get 4 chances, but I think if it doesn't work out with the Bucks, like who knows if he gets another chance even on these other teams. And you hate to see it. You hope that whatever troubles that he might have, he deal with in an appropriate way. And I think teams are known to say, like, whatever baggage you had, it's gone. Like what you do here matters now. Like who you were yesterday doesn't matter. And so far as whatever the league decides and things like that, in terms of repercussions. But they're saying, like, once you're here and you're with us, clean slate. And I think that's I'm not into canceling people. But that being said, if these off the field troubles come in again, then that's, you hate to see it, but maybe this won't work out. And I think part of the deal being we're only talking about maybe $2 million, which is like only, right? But for someone like Brown, that's kind of low risk overall financially for the Bucks. I appreciate both your guys' perspectives on the structure of it, because that's true. Like because part of the problem was not getting enough looks, but at the same time, if you're a player, that might motivate you to get more aggressive to finish it. So it's interesting angles there, but it's still low risk for the Bucks. The other thing is this could, like, I think, like you said, this could only happen with Brady. Brady really likes Brown. Brady appreciates receivers. I think something that happened with the Patriots is that one thing that was expected of Patriots receivers was to think like the quarterback. So not just run your route, but if something changes in the play, to think how the quarterback would think and kind of be on that level. I guess maybe Brown has that connection or that same ability. And, even with if you guys remember, like when Brady said Brown was invited to live with him, like just to make sure he was safe. And I think it's a great teammate, but it shows that Brady's invested in him. And I think that's a good thing to see. But obviously Brady carries a lot of sway in the organization. I don't think he's twisting anyone's arm, but I think it's influential when your best player is saying, hey, why don't we get this guy? Arians has been pretty clear. There's a lot of headlines saying, like, if Antonio Brown so much just steps out of line, he's off. I don't know how true that is, because you appreciate any help you get as long as they're not hurting your team. There's a risk, but there's a risk with all these other off the field locker room troubles that is legitimate. One angle I do agree with Jonathan about, and that's kind of like I don't think a double-edged sword, but he's on his 4th chance, right? He was supposed to be with the Raiders for a long time, didn't work out, didn't play. Same with the Patriots, played 1 game. And he's 32. So we're talking a lot about if Brown can be the Brown of old, he can, be a threat on the field. That being said, because he hasn't played, he hasn't been banged up the same way receivers at 32 generally are. Like, we're talking about a 32-year-old receiver. We're thinking of a guy who's played since being drafted every season. And in Brown's case, for better or for worse, he's had the ability to rest his body in a way that other receivers haven't. So who knows? 32 in real life, pretty young. So maybe he'll still be that kind of, and maybe not superstar, because age catches up to everyone except Tom Brady apparently. But maybe he will be more impactful than people realize. And I think I'll give that to Jonathan. Like, yeah, I saw you got him on fantasy. That's it. That was a good pickup. We'll see, but I think that's it. I think I see that as being, could be big.
That's one thing I love about Brady. John said that Brady just wants to win. And that's why he likes receivers that really want the ball. He didn't care if he throws it to you like 30 times a game. If he knows you want the ball as a receiver, he's going to try to get it to you. And that's one thing I love about Brady. You saw that with him and Edelman. He threw it to Edelman like sometimes 20 times a game. He didn't care. He wants to win. Whatever it takes to win. If it means throwing it to you every single play, he's going to do it. That's what I love about Brady. But sorry, go ahead, Jared.
Exactly. He's gonna see what the defense gives him, and there's gonna be games that people put 2 people on Brown, and he's gonna be like, okay, I'm not even gonna throw it over to Brown once. I'm gonna throw it to Evans, Godwin, and Gronk. And that's the great thing about Brady, is that once he does that, Brady is such a good leader that after that game that he doesn't target Brown once, he's going to go into the locker room and be like, Brown, I got you next game. Like we won the game. We're moving forward, but I'm going to find a way to get you the ball next time, but we need to get the win. And he's going to communicate that because he's such a great leader.
Yeah, like look at how he yelled at his offensive line in the Bears game, and then they, been going off ever since. So he wants to win. So sorry, Jared, you can have to hold you back more. But.
No, you're good. No, when you talked about how he's been resting his body, that's one of the things for me that kind of worries me, because we saw a record number of injuries this season, and we had a shortened training camp. We had no preseason. So you see what, going from 0 to 100 in like 2 weeks does to an NFL body. We saw a lot of torn ACLs, a lot of Achilles injuries. And with Antonio Brown, sure, he's been, running routes at a high school field, but you're not in the NFL playing, 110% speed, and, you're going fast, and, you're getting hit. Like, he hasn't gotten hit in forever. So that's one thing that I am worried about, besides, him being selfish, the injury worry, because realistically, he hasn't been full speed since that Patriots game. And that's a scary thing, especially now with what we saw in the beginning of the year with no training camp and no preseason. You saw a record number of injuries. So that worries me. But to John's question about the offense, I like the Buccaneers offense more than the Chiefs or the Seahawks. And I'll tell you why. They have everything that you could possibly want in an offense. You have, first of all, Super Bowl winning quarterback. And you could say Patrick Mahomes and Brady kind of cancel out. But Brady's leadership ability, I say, would give him a step up in that aspect, and in controlling Antonio Brown. Then you have Mike Evans, who's a huge deep threat, huge red zone threat, which is something that the Kansas City Chiefs don't have. You could say it's Kelsey at tight end position, but as far as speed and size, Evans is just massive. And then, we saw Scotty Miller. I'm sure that's his name, right? Scotty Miller or Miller or whatever. He's a pretty small guy, and Brady has been targeting him a lot. And he's about the same size as Antonio Brown. And those two, obviously Brown is 1,000 times better. So just think about, the targets that Scotty Miller has had, and just imagine it as Antonio Brown. And that's a scary thing. And then if Godwin gets healthy, that's 3 to 4, huge targets, fast targets. And Gronk's still a red zone threat. He can still catch touchdowns. He's a great, phenomenal blocker, which is, we've seen help Ronald Jones thrive. Fournette is starting to gain some traction. We're going to see how Bell is in the Chiefs offense very soon. But you can see Fournette is starting to get more touches. I like the Buccaneers offense. I think it's more experienced, and it pairs well with their defense. And that defense being really, really, really good is feeding into the offense mentally and giving them more energy. So yeah, all around, I like the Buccaneers offense a lot more. And especially with Brown coming in. Anybody else have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I have one last thing to add. I actually agree with you. I know a lot of people on TikTok were saying Seahawks offense is better, Chiefs offense is better, but I'm going to argue that this year the Buccaneers offense is better because they're going to be the most efficient. I don't think they're going to put up the same numbers that the Seahawks and Chiefs are, but they're going to be the most efficient. They're not going to need to put up as much points because they have a better defense. But when they get the ball and when they need points, they're going to get them. And that's why I think their offense is the best in the league with Brown.
Yeah, yep. Not to beat a dead horse, but yeah, I could see that the efficiency being a good point, because I personally don't believe they have the best offense. Like my first thought was, you're right. Like efficiency does matter in winning games. I would just say I think the Bucks. I've been skeptical of the Bucks, so maybe clearly I've underestimated them. I just think their defense is really really good, so it enables a lot more things to happen on offense. So I think that's something I will say. They have an edge. There's two sides of the football, so they have an edge over that than I think the Chiefs and Seattle in terms of having a good offense for sure. It's up there, but also a killer defense, probably up there with the Colts. I think.
100%. As I was talking about injuries, we got to talk about Odell Beckham Jr. It was revealed that he tore his ACL in the game against the Bengals, which is terrible because he felt like he was just starting to hit his stride. Out for the season. Caleb, I'll start with you and go around. Is Odell Beckham Jr. out for the season? Is that something or is it nothing? All respect to Odell and hope he has a speedy recovery.
Yeah, I think it's something for a number of reasons. I think it's weird for me with Baker Mayfield because, however good you are as a receiver depends on some aspect of how good the quarterback is. And it's weird with Baker because some games, the headlines afterwards are like, oh, he's not the guy anymore. You gotta move on. And then other games he'll throw 100% completion, like just pass after pass, perfect games basically. So, maybe consistency issues, but it's without OBJ there, I think it's going to hurt the Browns. I think it's something. I think it's also something in terms of the career of OBJ, like the legacy that he's going to leave behind. I think the Browns haven't used him as well as they could have at the time that he's been with them. And I think the injury is going to, compound it because he's been injured before. I don't know if it's the same injury, but that's always tough to come back from. I hope he comes back 100% and with no concern or anything. With the technology that medicine has now, it's possible, and I hope for it. But if I'm coming back and I'm OBJ, I'm thinking, maybe looking at a new team because of that's my thinking. Not that Baker isn't the guy, but if you're that you're that good, like you are Odell Beckham Jr., I'd say find a team that might, like a DeAndre Hopkins situation. Be the main guy. It's someone else that is going to use you regularly.
Yep. Yeah, I think this is nothing because I don't think the Browns were utilizing Odell, even before. So I think him being gone doesn't really do anything. I agree with Caleb. Odell deserves to be on a team that will utilize him a lot more with a quarterback that can actually play the game well and is football smart. I think the Browns have established that Baker Mayfield is not going to carry their offense to success. They're a run first offense, and they pass here and there, when they need to. I think so. I think with this injury, it's not really going to change anything. They're still going to continue to run the football, and Baker will try to complete passes to Higgins and Njoku and Landry here and there. So in that sense, it's nothing. But I sort of agree with Caleb. It's something for Odell Beckham. Through this injury, you got to kind of reflect and say, hey, do I want to stay on this team for another year and not be utilized and let my career continue to go down? Or do I want to go to a better team with a great quarterback that will give me a lot of targets and sort of help build my career? I really don't think he should have left the Giants. That was the ideal situation. I think Daniel Jones coming in could have really helped Odell Beckham in his career. But he's here now, and he has to reflect and try to find a better team with a great quarterback that will revive his career.
Yeah, I think, first of all, my thoughts go out to Odell back when he was on the Giants. I really enjoyed watching him play, and I still do. So I hope he has a speedy recovery. But I'm also going to agree with Jonathan. I think this is nothing. And I think Jonathan hit it right on the head in that that's just their system. And Stefanski came in from the Vikings, and their system was to run the ball. So this really doesn't change the Browns' offense that much. In terms of how they run their offense, there's nothing that Beckham can do that Rashard Higgins can. And if you're a fantasy owner right now and you're in like a 12, 14 team league, you need to pick up Rashard Higgins because he ran a route on all 28 dropbacks that Baker Mayfield had. and he had over 80 yards catching or receiving, I think. So this is a guy that is going to start in place of Beckham, and he's going to get a lot of targets. But I think the Browns are still going to run the ball. I don't think this changes their offense very much. So I think this is nothing, but I hope he does have a speedy recovery. The only thing with you guys saying that he needs to reevaluate and be the main guy, then why did he leave the Giants? He was our whole team. We literally went to him every play. We didn't have a good running back. We didn't have a good tight end. We literally went to him. If it wasn't him scoring the touchdowns, we really didn't get touchdowns. So then why did he leave there? If it was because of the wins, then he's going to stay on Cleveland, I think, because he wants to win. And Cleveland's 5-2 right now, and the Giants are 1-5. So I think he's probably going to stay where he is. But in terms of looking to see where he can go, he's shown in the past that he wants to win. He doesn't care about being the main guy. So we'll see what he decides.
Well, that's why he went to the Browns originally, right? Because the year he went, there was a lot of hype that year for the Browns. I think I remember right, was a lot of superstar talent there. So they were talk of Super Bowl contenders the year he went, but didn't pan out. So maybe that's why. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting as an NFL player. You kind of have to think about, do I want to prioritize, my career over wins, or vice versa? Because if he stayed with Giants, they would have definitely loved to keep him, gave him some really high contracts. But now his net worth, or not his net worth, but his worth as a player, his value as a player has gone down, because nobody thinks he's that good. He hasn't got much targets, right? He hasn't really turned games around like he did on the Giants. So as an NFL player, it's kind of interesting which side they choose, to really choose their career and prioritize that targets, or really choose the wins and want to win a Super Bowl. So it's interesting.
Yeah, as far as Odell leaving, I don't know if I haven't researched that much. I know that he's publicly said that he likes Cleveland and wants to stay there and wants to win in Cleveland. But players change their minds all the time. Kyrie Irving changes his mind all the time. So players do that all the time. I don't think I would write his tweet in stone and say, oh, he's staying in Cleveland. But you guys, Jonathan and Johnny, you both said the offense doesn't really need him, and I think that's 100% true. This offense doesn't run through Baker Mayfield, or it's through Odell Beckham. It's simple. When you look at the total touchdowns, the tight ends have a total of 6 touchdowns, and Hunt has 4 rushing touchdowns just him alone, or 4 passing touchdowns. So when you look at who they're passing to, 6 touchdowns go to the tight ends, 4 goes to running backs, and then Odell had 3, and Higgins, I think, has 2. So when you look at it, Donovan Peoples-Jones now has 1 touchdown. And, that's already close to what Higgins has. So they don't use Odell as much. And I hope he has a speedy recovery and all that, and he's a great player. But this offense runs through tight ends. It runs through running the ball and giving it to the running backs in the backfield. That's just what the offense is. And you can see that with Jarvis Landry, who's a Pro Bowl receiver, has no touchdowns. So even though Odell is a great player, he wasn't being utilized in the way that he needs to be at all. Half of his touchdowns were against the Cowboys. So when you really think about it, they're going to be the same exact team, in my opinion. Same exact team. And if we're looking bigger picture, if we're looking playoffs, it doesn't affect them. The one thing that affects them is Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield needs to play better. He needs to step up when they play teams that are over 500. When they face a good defense, Baker cannot turn the ball over. He's played 7 games and has 8 turnovers, 7 interceptions, and a fumble. You can't be doing that, especially with the Browns, and their defense is not good enough to save his ass when he fumbles the ball, when he throws an interception. It's just the facts. And he's always like, I saw his girlfriend or fiance or whatever come out and they're like, oh, like stop slandering Baker's name. Like, he's doing the best he can. He's turning around a 0-16 team, blah, blah, blah. Like, look, Baker put this upon himself. First off, you're number one pick, so you have to act like it and you need to take the criticism. And two, how much like talking and like showboating did he do in the preseason of last year? Like, he's the most like talkative and like cocky like person. Like, that's just his personality. If he can't take the heat himself, he shouldn't be dishing it out to other people. So back to Odell, this won't affect the Browns at all. I think their trajectory is the same as it was with him. Yeah, that's all I got.
The one thing I want to add, just like, is just on top of that, is I think I'd say it's something for Odell's career, in terms of his overall career. It's probably nothing for the Browns, although I will say it might hurt them when they have to come back from games, because the run game isn't something you can go to when you're coming back from behind. So without Odell to pull defenders away, that might hurt them. But it's Landry, so
hey,
you guys are
DPJ
right.
is a freaking star, man. He is
who knows?
Superstar.
Yeah.
Phenomenal catch he made. Absolutely amazing. He's twisted his
That
body
was
in the air.
game-winning catch.
Toe tap. Oh my God.
Let's not forget it was against the Bengals, though.
But I know that was still a tough catch.
Baker plays so well against the Bengals, right? Like, he played them a few weeks ago.
Good against
went
bad teams.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's fair to say more Baker's the question mark right now. But yeah.
And last one for something or nothing, the Patriots. Now, the Patriots had one of their worst losses at home in the Belichick era, 33-6 against the 49ers. Now, Cam was actually benched. He threw 98 yards and 3 touchdowns. 3 interceptions. No touchdowns.
I was like, wait a minute.
Now, if you look at the Patriots going forward, they faced the Jets twice. They faced Miami. Those are about it. Like, their easy schedule, easy team is the Jets and Miami. They got a tough schedule coming up. I'll start with John. Patriots having the biggest loss at home in the Belichick era. Cam Newton, 3 interceptions. What's going on? Is this something or is it nothing?
I've been trying to tell you guys this since we did a podcast. I think it was in April, and we talked about, is Deshaun Watson a top 15 quarterback? And I tried to tell you guys that he's not, but you guys were like, yeah, of course he's top 15. If he's in the league, he's top 15. And now you really have no excuses because he has the best coach in NFL history on his side. So if he can't perform now,
he's trying to get rid of COVID, dude. COVID's
exactly.
No.
That's the reason.
No. Okay. He has 2 touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions on the season. Okay. How's that? That's good. Okay. His passer rating, he has an average passer rating of 71.7. That's the only 2 quarterbacks he's better than this season are Darnold and Drew Lock. Daniel Jones is just ahead of him. Okay. So maybe Daniel Jones should go to the Patriots because he's better.
He doesn't have any weapons.
Cam Newton sucks. No. It's weapons. You have Edelman, a Super Bowl MVP.
Dude, he's nothing without Brady. Just like Edelman.
Who does the Giants have?
Amendola. Nothing without Brady.
That was an anomaly.
Edelman had his best receiving day of his career against Seattle with Newton. So he's still good. The Giants have no receivers. Evan Ingram can't catch for shit.
Golden Tate.
I mean, Shepard, Golden Tate makes one good play per season. So I don't want to hear about him.
He helped us out.
And Sterling Shepard is hurt.
Yeah.
I've been trying to tell you guys that Cam Newton is just not good anymore. And his passer rating shows it. His touchdown interception ratio shows it. I've been trying to tell you guys, Patriots will not make the playoffs. And this is something because Cam has no fire. He has nobody to throw to. And the best coach in NFL history can't even fix it because he doesn't have Tom Brady. And Tom Brady is the best leader in NFL history. And he could play through anybody that you give him. And I just think that this is definitely something. I have strong opinions about how I feel about Cam Newton. And I'm interested to hear if you guys change your mind about him being a top 15 QB.
Absolutely not.
No, what? Like, you still think he's a...
Dude, the guy had COVID a mere week ago.
Exactly.
Dude.
We don't know how it affects people. It affects everyone differently. His passer rating is still like really low. Okay, so how about this? Like, against the Bills, let's see how he does. You think is COVID still an excuse?
Well, all I know is like the first few weeks, everything was going really well for the Patriots. Then COVID hit, and he had to sit out for a while. And the team,
no
the team
practices.
had quarantined for a while. Exactly. That affected the team.
I'm telling you. I was telling you though that when people start to play the Patriots, they're going to see how to play Cam Newton. And I know at the same point that COVID happened was the same point that people realized how to play the Patriots. So it's an easy excuse for you guys. Oh, it's COVID. But the real reason is that people just started to learn how to play the Patriots. Did you see the 49ers? They just said, okay, you're not going to be able to run it because we know you have more rushing touchdowns this season than passing touchdowns. So we're just going to make you throw it. And you got to throw it to Damiere Byrd and N'Keal Harry and Edelman, who's hurt every week. So good luck with that.
And that's the thing. Exactly. He doesn't have enough weapons. He needs more weapons.
Dude,
assess.
Brady had the same weapons last year. Exact same.
You can't compare Brady to freaking Cam Newton.
What? You're saying Brady or Newton's top 15 in the league, so and he has the best coach of all time on the side, so
look, Jonathan, you want to take this or I'll say some words?
Let me just say, it's just a mix. It's a mix of different things. It's a mix of different things.
No.
COVID happened.
This is what happened.
He didn't get enough reps. He doesn't have enough receivers.
You guys don't know what to say, so you just say everything. That's what happens. You don't know what the real reason is, and you know you're wrong, so you just say everything.
No, literally what it is, like it's just the facts.
Tell me.
It's just the facts. They do not have a top 50 receiver. They don't. When you
that's yards, what Brady.
When you look at yards, Julian Edelman is not in the top 50. When you look at N'Keal Harry, has not produced at all, and he was their first round pick. You have no tight ends. Your running back James White is not consistent enough to do that. The QB can't be the blame for this. He's trying his best. Dude, he probably is like seeing hallucinations right now. He's probably
oh my gosh,
120. Like he's straight. You gotta give him the benefit of the doubt on this. The Patriots are a bad team. They are a terrible offensive team, and it's not Cam Newton. When they swap Jarrett Stidham in, you can see how bad Stidham is compared to Newton.
Exactly.
They're both.
What Newton's trying to do is make them win and do crazy things to try to get them to win, and it's resulting in interceptions. But Stidham is just trying to, keep his job, so he's keeping it very conservative. But the 3 interceptions, you're just trying to will this team to win and get some spark, and your receivers aren't helping you at all. Even Edelman's not helping him.
Yeah, but that's what Brady had though. Like when even last year, I know Edelman's hurt this year, but every year Edelman's on the injury report every week. Brady had the same thing, and I'm not saying that Newton has to be as good as Brady, but Brady never threw 3 interceptions and had that big of a loss ever. Every time, and the defense is bad, but the defense was bad against the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and Brady just put 40 points on the best defense in the league. So Brady has always had an answer, and Newton just hasn't had an answer.
I'm not going to compare Newton to Brady because Brady's the GOAT. And if you saw against the Titans in the playoffs, his last throw as a Patriot was a pick 6. Like, so I think that shows you what team Cam Newton inherited. A team that is not good, and exactly what Tom Brady was trying to do in the playoffs. Try and do crazy things, try and get them to spark and win the game. And at some point you fall short because you just don't have the talent. It's simple. It's a talent game. They don't have the talent to compete in their division, as a matter of fact. So,
Yeah.
So are we saying? No, go ahead, Kalen. I want to hear what you have to say.
Pick a side.
Just to still the waters.
Pick a side, Caleb. Pick a side.
We'd have to rewind the tape because if I remember right, now it's on YouTube. If I remember right, you can't. Okay, I will say I'll concede to John that he's not as good as Tom Brady. Like I feel like that's gotta be that's like he's so it's this comparisons. Brady's better. Like it's like he's the winningest quarterback of all time. Like that's fair, right? He did it. I like Jared, your point. He inherited a team that was not the Super Bowl team that Brady had. His last year with the Patriots. You could tell that there was cracks in there that people were trying to blame away from Brady, And so now it's just all going on Cam Newton, because people were making up excuses for Brady that season. And now Cam's in it. And it's like, oh, it's Cam. The thing I think I remember, if I not to like stay on the fence, but if I remember, I thought that a healthy Cam Newton is okay. I give you, maybe I said top 15. I think I don't think it's fair to not
said yes, top 15.
Yeah, like I don't think it's fair to not because in the Seattle game, right, that came down to the wire against the Chiefs, which
Seattle's defense is embarrassing though.
Right, like but they went on to win they went on to win like what 2 or 3 more games. Like they were undefeated until this week, until they lost to the Cardinals. So like but their offense was good enough to cover up those, and still it might carry on forth. But you're right, but it was still down to the wire with one of the last undefeated teams up until this point.
Before
then
COVID
with the Chiefs. Right, and then the Chiefs, we didn't get to see Cam because the people were hyping it up to be a close game, but then Cam gets COVID and he has to sit out, and the team has to play without him, and they lose. So but that was being hyped up to be close too. I think more what it says for the organization is the 3 picks. If some quarterbacks have bad days, if it keeps up with Newton, if he has like another one, then I think that's indicative that there's something not of COVID, but more like. You can kind of, if you start to lose confidence of people in your quarterback abilities, it might show. I don't think he has as many good weapons as other teams. Brady had the luxury of picking a team that he could go to, so he could look at the Bucks with Winston were one of the if you take away the turnovers, were one of the best teams in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Brady went to that. If you look at the Patriots, they're still rebuilding with a new quarterback in a way. Brady is a unique specimen, but I would still give, statistically, yeah, he's not top 15 statistically. I think he still can be, is my point.
I thought the argument went back in April or whenever we had the argument of top 15 or not. I thought the argument was that it doesn't matter about the receivers because you have the best coach, so he's going to be able to figure it out and put Newton in the best situation. I know, Jonathan, that was one of your biggest points, was that you have Cam Newton and Belichick is going to figure out how to make it work, however that is. So if Belichick, we have to assume he's doing everything in his power because he's the best coach in NFL history, then it must be on Newton because he's not performing.
No, the receivers just suck, man. I don't know if
Oh my! This is you can't just keep going back to the same thing. You have to bring up some other argument because I'm bringing up a bunch of different.
I know. Well, I'm saying what it is. The main reason I'm telling you, not just receivers. The main reason I'm telling you, they were set back as a team because of COVID. That's why.
My
if they had kept on playing, I'm saying if he had kept on playing, I'm telling you, it would be a different story we're talking about right now.
It's. Put it like this, Brady is a GOAT, but he lost in the first round last year to the Titans with that team. It's Cam Newton
because they were gonna get the bye until something happened, right?
Yeah,
they haven't.
Yeah, what happened? But regardless, they lose that first round, and that's with Tom Brady. So with Cam.
Right. It's
He could be
how
a
much
top
better have they
15
gotten?
He could be a top 15 quarterback and still not make the playoffs. And we saw with Brady, they can't win a playoff game with him. They actually got like beat down, and you can't blame it on Cam. And it's like opens up a whole can of worms with like the Brady versus Belichick. But that's for another podcast, you know. So
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about this for long enough.
yeah, it's just hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to put the blame on Cam
It's a
right
passionate debate.
Yeah, it's
We'll
hard.
definitely revisit, though. I think that's fair to say. We'll revisit around
Yeah,
the
we'll
time frame
revisit.
you talked about.
I
We'll
just
talk. We'll talk.
The one thing I can say is I expect him to beat, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Texans. I expect those to be wins. If those aren't wins, that's a big problem for them. Because you can't be the Patriots and lose to the Jets. I'm sorry. Regardless of
All right.
excuses or whatever. Okay, we're gonna go into our games of the week. And to start off, we're going to go with Steelers versus Ravens, a division rivalry. The Steelers are the only undefeated team in the NFL right now, and the Ravens have one loss to the Chiefs. I'll start this one off because I think it's an easy one. I think the Ravens get it done. I think the Steelers are a little too nervous. I know Jonathan says a lot. You want a team to lose like one or two games before the playoffs. So I think this is what the Ravens are going to do. They're going to shock the Steelers. The Steelers are going to be playing a little nervous. Ravens are going to be free flowing. A lot of experience there. They're not satisfied with 5-1. They're going to want to come out strong, make a statement mid-season, right at week 8. So I'm going to go Ravens on this. And yeah, Ravens. I'm not going to do a score. Caleb?
I got to disagree. I hate to say it, but I think that I have underestimated how good the Steelers have been. I think it's easy to side with the undefeated team, but I got to say, Roethlisberger isn't super talked about, but he's one of the last standing veterans of his generation of quarterbacks, and he's still playing really, really good, really, really well. Excuse me. And surrounded with James Conner and the depth of the running back and that defense. I mean, with Claypool starting to show, I think the Steelers are legit. People didn't talk about them. I think watching them a couple of their games, they have the pieces. Like they were one of the most well-rounded teams that I've seen. That's hence why they're still undefeated. The Ravens, I think it'll be a fun game to watch, but I'm giving it to the Steelers. I think I'm done underestimating them. I think they have a good depth, good coaching behind them in a really well-rounded way. I think it's going to win it, especially with that defense they got. I think it's going to limit Lamar's running, hopefully. And if they're smart, that's going to limit the Ravens' ability a lot.
I completely agree with Caleb. I think I'm picking the Steelers to win. I think they're underestimated. Not enough people talk about them, I guess, because they didn't really play much tough teams in the first few weeks. But let me just say, all the receivers can ball. Juju, Claypool, Deontay Johnson, James Washington. I mean, Big Ben he just picks a receiver like every single game. It's like, hey, I'm throwing it to you like multiple times this game. I don't know.
Today's your day.
I think the offense is unstoppable with James Conner. I mean, John told us last week. I don't know if somebody else picked Steelers last week to beat Titans, but when I watched that game, I was like, wow, this team's a real deal. And I don't know why people aren't talking about them. So given how the offense is unstoppable and how the Ravens defense struggled against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, I think the Steelers are gonna destroy I wouldn't say destroy. I think the Steelers are gonna beat the Ravens. I think the Ravens will struggle to defend all those receivers because again, Big Ben can just pick and choose which one he wants to target that day. So I think Steelers are gonna win.
I'll add Watt. I totally forgot Watt, TJ Watt on Steelers. He's sorry if you were going to say that, John, but like that's. So I'll let you go. But that was.
No, he's playing great, but I'm gonna have to agree with Jared on this one. I think that the Ravens get this done. So, yeah, there's your answer. You guys should probably change your pick, but
divided household.
We picked the Ravens against the Chiefs and we were wrong. So I don't want to lose hope on the Ravens yet.
Yeah.
That's why I picked him. I had kind of a loyalty to him when I picked him against the Chiefs.
They're a good team.
The reason I think they're going to win, the Steelers, Big Ben has never been 6-0 in his career. And at this point, they are playing a little nervous, like I think Jared said. They're going to be a little nervous. The Ravens just had their bye. They had everybody to get healthy. They have a big game plan for the Steelers. And I think that the Ravens come out with a win in this game. And I think it's going to be because of Lamar throwing the ball, running the ball. Ravens defense is set up perfect to exploit this Steelers offense, because the Steelers offense doesn't take huge shots downfield. It's a lot of throw it quick here, throw quick there. And if anybody's been watching our podcast, they know I've said the name Deontay Johnson like every week, and I'm a huge Deontay Johnson fan, and he finally had his breakout week last week. And I think this is the guy you need on all your fantasy teams. And I think this is a guy throughout the rest of the season. A few weeks ago, we said what player will have a great season from here on out, and I said Deontay Johnson. And now that he's healthy, I think that will happen. But as far as this game goes, I think that the Ravens are going to win this. They're at home. It's very hard to go to Baltimore and win. They're at home. They just had a bye, and the Steelers are a little nervous being undefeated. So I just see too many things in the Ravens' favor here.
If Lamar could throw the ball just a little bit better, I would kind of side with the Ravens. But we saw how the Steelers shut down the Titans' top rushing offense with Derrick Henry. So if the Ravens, their game plan is to rush with Lamar and everything, I don't think they're going to be successful. And so it's going to be an interesting game, but I think the Steelers will win this.
It's going to be close. Like, Ravens are a great team. I just think, like Jonathan, you said, I think we're underestimating them. Like Big Ben, you ever see him get nervous? He's Big Ben. Like, I mean, it's like this man does not get nervous. So, so it'll be a fun game. I'm giving it to the Steelers.
It will be. This game is a little more exciting if the Bears won, but it's Saints versus Bears, and the Bears are coming off a loss to the Rams. I'm going to go with the Bears on this one. I know the Saints are a great team. I know they're an experienced team. There's trouble in New Orleans right now. Again, I don't know how many weeks in a row, but Michael Thomas is questionable for week 8. There's trade rumors coming out of New Orleans. I don't know what's going on with them, but something is not right. And they may be able to have the weapons to get it done, but Nick Foles will find a way. I go Bears beating the Saints. John?
I'm going to disagree with you.
I knew you would.
Bears.
Really?
The Bears are the imposter. I said it before. I'll say it again. I said that their next 5 games, we're going to lose 4 of them. I'm already 1 for 1. I'm about to be 2 for 2 after this game, because I'm a big Nick Foles fan. Don't get me wrong. I'm the one that said that he should be reemerged into this league. But from what I've seen with the Bears, that's just not his team. And they have the worst. They literally have the worst rushing game in the whole league. They can't rush the ball. And the Saints have the best rush, or the second best rush defense to the Bucks. So, yeah, tell me how that's going to go. Foles is going to throw 2 interceptions for sure. I'm sorry, but Bears are not going to win. I'm picking Saints.
Yeah, Chicago's doing the best they can. I mean, Nick Foles, is doing the best he can with the offense, but I agree with John. The rushing is not really that great without Tariq Cohen. And so teams are picking up on that. And it's tough for Nick Foles to make something out of nothing right now with the Chicago Bears. So even though I have Allen Robinson on my fantasy team and I wish him well, I'm picking the Saints.
This is a tough one for me, because but a week ago I said that the Bears weren't the imposter, so the Ravens were, which is consistent with me picking the Steelers over them.
Yeah.
But I will say,
At least you're consistent.
I do have to say that after watching them lose to the Rams, it was a tough way to lose the Bears. I mean, I'm biased towards Nick Foles, obviously, but I really don't think he was the problem. He did throw picks, but that's because his play style is to gun it deep, keep the secondary honest, and he was playing that game trying to keep the Bears in it to the very end. And the reason that it was so the scoreboard came out so bad is that offensive line was letting them get to Nick Foles every time. And that's why I think it'll be a little closer though with the Saints, because I think Rams have a really good D line with Aaron Donald. I don't think the Saints have an equivalent player. Not that they're bad in that sense, but just more, not that level. So if you give Nick Foles time, I'm gonna go with Jared on this. And I'm gonna go Bears. I'm gonna go Bears because I feel like they could do it. I mean, their offense. If they lose, it's because of the offensive line. And you're right, the run game issues are troublesome. But I still believe in Nick Foles and his receiving core there. I think if anything, it's not Nick Foles is not the problem. If you have the right quarterback, you can win almost anything. So we'll see.
I can't believe you guys. I can't believe you guys are.
It's divided again. What do you mean? Jonathan agreed with you.
The time traveler spoke and said the imposter is the Bears.
You like my comment?
Nah, man, the Bears.
When somebody tells you they saw Orange kill in the electrical and vented, you believe them. I told you I saw Chicago and they vented, and you're not believing me.
No. The Saints are sus right now. I'm not buying it.
It was close with the Panthers. You got to give us a little bit of
You're
that sense. Without Michael Thomas, if they don't have Michael Thomas, I will add. I think the Bears can do it.
I think the Bears can do it too. They have one of the best defenses. And as long as that offense doesn't suck like against the Rams, which I'm sure it won't back-to-back weeks, they're going to win.
At least give Nick Foles time. And I don't think they'll have that same trouble with the Saints. I could be wrong, but I think there was one play in that game where Foles threw it. I had like 0.5 seconds to throw it, and he almost got it perfect, but it would have been a touchdown. But it's like he had no time to plant his feet and follow through. Watching that game, it was tough if you're a Bears fan. Like that's just nothing going if the line's collapsing every play.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good. We split our picks, and I think we split them pretty evenly with both games, so that's great. All right,
yeah.
That does it for episode 23. I always question myself what episode. We're literally going like so. We're
24.
putting out so much content. 24.
We're on 24.
Right, so episode 24 is now
Season 3.
Books. Guys, go follow our TikTok and go follow our Instagram right now. We are pumping out content daily now on the TikTok, at least. The Instagram is always popping. And go in the comments and comment. What should we comment if they've made it this far? There's got to be at least some word like Saint Nick. If you comment Saint Nick, you made it this far.
Just comment because I think the biggest thing we argued. Comment if Cam Newton is a top 15 quarterback right now.
Ooh,
that's fair. If you made it through that,
say in the comment
to this point,
Cam Newton is not. Cam Newton is not a top 15 quarterback. That's what I'm gonna see in the comments. I know it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys in week 9, Thursday at 10 a.m. as always. We will see you then. Take care.